A violent death in an ancient world. 77 million years later, a startling discovery.
It was a body. It was a body.
Hailed as the most important dinosaur find in history.
We have what appears to be muscle and internal organs.
I'd be willing to bet you've got heart and liver as well.
Leonardo is our best opportunity to bring dinosaurs back to life.
A team of world-class scientists travel back in time and unlock the secrets of the dinosaur mummy. Earth's late Cretaceous period. A tropical storm blowing in from the western interior seaway has forced a family of duck-billed dinosaurs to head for shelter within the lush delta. As they follow the swollen river inland, they sense there may be more than violent weather threatening the herd. A pack of lethal Daspletosaurs surrounds the duckbills. There's little chance for escape. A young juvenile rushes in to protect the herd. But he's no match for these ferocious pack hunters. "77 million years later, the corpse of the young hadrosaur emerges from the basement of time. In the summer of 2001, freelance paleontologist Nate Murphy unearthed not just the bones of a dinosaur, but its mummified and fossilized body.
When we realized that we had a fossilized cadaver, we had to figure out a way to get a 6.5-ton block of dinosaur out of the Badlands in northeastern Montana.
Murphy's dig team named the dinosaur Leonardo after graffiti sketched on a rock near the duckbill's body. It would take several hundred pounds of dynamite and dozens of bloody fingers to free the fossil from its rocky tomb. Leo's body had been submerged underwater, then covered in silt. Shortly after death, mysterious forces mummified the corpse. Fossilization followed as tiny grains of sand replaced preserved tissue. Eons later, a small stream had washed away part of the duckbill's tail.
The other portion was sticking out and would have served for a free meal for hungry scavengers.
Safely loaded onto the back of an old farm truck, Leo began the trip down a long country road to his new home 30 miles away. Located in the northeast part of Montana, Malta is a charming icon of the American West. But unlike other towns, it has its own resident paleontologist. Just a stone's throw from Main Street is the Great Plains Dinosaur Museum. It's filled with countless discoveries made by Montana's freelance fossil hunter, Nate Murphy. This is where the mummified and fossilized body of Leonardo came to live, in a specially designed vault.
Sometimes when I come in here late at night and look at this thing, it's really hard to believe that it's a fossil. It's really the cadaver of a dinosaur.
After being exhumed, the body of the Brachylophosaur was flipped on its back for further examination. With the cadaver largely intact and preserved, Leonardo is listed by the Guinness Book of World Records as the best dinosaur mummy ever found. Above the right leg is a structure the size and shape of what Murphy believes is a shoulder muscle. In the belly of the beast, a missing piece of rock reveals Leonardo's partially exposed stomach. Perhaps the most striking feature is the creature's skin. Mummified and then fossilized, Murphy is hoping the skin may have acted like a protective cocoon.
We have great preservation on the outside. But could we possibly see organs? So the big challenge is applying all of this dinosaur CSI to this one specimen to hopefully look inside and understand the physiology of these animals.
From the type of plants Leo ate to his internal organs, Murphy has bet the farm the mummy will provide answers about the biology of a living dinosaur.
I gotta know everything about this creature. And so I'm calling in the best people for the job.
To act as the lead scientist on the project, Murphy has recruited the high priest of paleontology, an ordained minister with a maverick attitude and a Harvard PhD. After 40 years digging dinosaurs, Dr. Robert Bacher thought he'd seen it all.
When I saw Leonardo, when I saw that there was not only skin, but I could look through the skin at the guts, it was a religious experience.
While Bacher is Nate Murphy's lead scientist on the project, Nate's closest confidant and right-hand man is his son, Matt. Using a host of tools from pneumatic chisels to dental picks, Matt Murphy spent most of his late teens and early 20s removing the rock that encased Leonardo's body.
I've got to do most of the dirty work, and my dad's got most of the glory out of it, but I've been able to spend a lot more time than anybody else in the world on the preparation of this specimen.
In the highly competitive world of paleontology, the discovery of a rare specimen like Leonardo can be worth millions. Critics are quick to suggest that freelance fossil hunters like the Murphys may be more interested in press coverage and promotion than scientific investigation.
Those critics, however, are reality checks for me. Maybe I need to strengthen my resolve for the research. I know I can't make everybody happy, but you know what? When it comes down to it, brass tacks, the fossil will speak for itself. I won't be speaking for the fossil.
Although an amateur, when it comes to finding Brachylophosaurus, Murphy is without equal, unearthing 5 of Leo's species, all discovered in the same location in northeast Montana. Could a single catastrophic event be responsible for their deaths?
You're right.
Leonardo was born into the hadrosaur family of dinosaurs, more commonly referred to as duckbills. Leo's herd was of the species Brachylophosaurus, named for the short crests which adorned the top of their heads. By age 3, Leo weighed nearly 1,000 pounds and spanned 20 feet in length. But this is only the first chapter of Leo's story. 77 million years after his death, his body holds the key to unlocking secrets not only about his anatomy, but also about the lost world of dinosaurs.
Once we move the camera and get it above shot, projecting down onto the processes and the tendons, we should get very good three-dimensional images.
To protect the fragile fossil, imaging expert Art Anderson will use a custom-built scanner to create an anatomical model of Leo's body.
We're not going to be using traditional molding casting on Leonardo because we don't want to contaminate the surface with chemicals that would traditionally be used. So what we're doing is doing the white light scan, which will give us detail down to the size of a grain of sand. And when we're finished, and this is the exciting part, we're going to have a very detailed image of Leonardo's body in 3 dimensions.
After more than a week of scanning, a detailed 3D image of Leo's body emerges. It's the science team's first step in creating an accurate digital model of a dinosaur's anatomy. With the corpse covered in skin, Leo has given us our first complete picture of both the size and location of a dinosaur's complex pattern of scales.
So what we see on the actual specimen, and it absolutely tells us, is that the upper part of his sides and back, small scales. When it wrapped around to his underbelly, it was leathery with very few scales. And then those long, slender legs had armor sections of scales so that when the animal was walking through all that rough vegetation, he was protected.
There's strong evidence Leonardo's body cavity was intact after he died. So scientists from the University of Colorado in Boulder began looking for remnants of his last meal.
When we examined the material inside of Leonardo's gut and compared it with that outside, there were actually very clear differences. Inside, there was a very high percentage of leaf material.
From looking at the organic material inside Leo, we were able to determine that the most likely origin for the organic material was that it had been gut contents.
So that told us that the last meal, their last few meals that Leonardo ate were largely composed of leaves.
We can't really tell if these are angiosperm leaves or conifer leaves, but these kinds of plants are both known from this area.
Along with Leo's last meal were more than 40 kinds of pollen and several species of freshwater algae.
So not only do we have the individual telling us something about him, but we also have this snapshot of the world that he was walking through.
In the hope of understanding how Leonardo was preserved, Nate Murphy has enlisted two of the world's leading experts, paleontologist Joe Schoolin.
Articulated skeletons are extremely rare.
And mummy expert Art Ofterheide.
It's incredible. It's incredible. The details that are being revealed here are certainly beyond my experience. Far more detailed than I never expected.
I mean, this has never been dried out.
Well, I agree. I agree. Yeah, I've always been the proponent that this animal experienced a totally wet burial.
For a fossilized mummy like Leonardo to be created, the fresh corpse must be buried rapidly to keep it from predators, and then sealed in the ground to prevent bacteria from decomposing it.
We have soft tissue.
The odds are that that's mediastinal tissues that encloses the sac that houses the heart.
Wow.
The fact that you've got an inflated thoracic cavity with stomach contents, I'd be willing to bet you've got heart and liver as well.
Okay.
For Joe Schoolin, the fastest way to locate dino innards is to cut Leo open.
Yeah, you ought to chop the whole thing up.
Chopping it up. Do you chop up mummies, Art?
No.
Okay.
While Leonardo is the most complete and best preserved dinosaur mummy ever found, the first was uncovered in 1908 by a family of fossil hunters, just like the Murphys. Charles Sternberg and his sons found not just the bones of a dinosaur, but a partly decomposed corpse, complete with fossilized skin and shreds of flesh.
A great duckbill lay on its back, with front limbs stretched out as if imploring aid. It lay there with expanded ribs, as if in life, leaving an exact picture as he breathed his last.
News of the world's first dinosaur mummy spread like a prairie wildfire. When it was first exhibited, some claimed they could smell the fossilized corpse. A century later, it's still on display at New York's Museum of Natural History. Sternberg was consumed with unlocking the mysterious forces that had preserved the duckbill. He began to wonder if the sands of the Cretaceous might be filled with mummified dinosaurs.
Are drafty doors and windows forcing you to crank up the heat 30%?
To get under the skin of the dino mummy without damaging it, Nate Murphy has wrangled a team of digital X-ray technicians to perform a radiographic autopsy.
We'd use this for non-destructive testing of welds, of airplane parts, aerospace parts, bridges, anything where you can't afford to break it apart to inspect it.
Industrial-strength X-ray equipment will be used to penetrate the fossilized corpse. There's just one snag. It's extremely dangerous.
In the industrial world, we would just clear out an area, or we'd shoot in the middle of the night when nobody's around, and we'd have hundreds of feet to work around. And
we're going to need to get some more shielding in here. Let's make some X-rays.
You got it.
Let's go, boys.
Each time an X-ray is taken, the team must leave the field station and take refuge beyond the lethal zone of radiation.
Okay, we're clear. Energizing.
How long is the exposure?
1 minute. Should be over. Is it done shooting, Pat?
Sorry, we have a technical hiccup here, so.
What's that? Did you get it? Did you shoot it?
Tube won't energize at the moment.
We're getting a fault from the cooler that cools the X-ray tube.
And it won't allow the control panel to even energize.
What happens is the electricity comes in, passes over a piece of tungsten, and makes X-rays, and generates a lot of heat. And we have to have some form of cooling. In this case, it's water.
5 years, I guess I can wait a few more minutes, but man, it's killing me. It's hurry up and wait.
The hurry of Leonardo's life, a short 3 years long, was lived along the shores of the Western Interior Seaway, a shallow ocean whose coastline ran through eastern Montana and north into Alberta. As the climate warmed, the inland waterway receded, leaving on its western shore the Judith River Formation. In this ancient rock, nature has cut deep into Earth's primordial past, revealing a vast Cretaceous graveyard. But why, in this narrow corridor, are there so many complete or articulated dinosaurs?
The question isn't really, why do we have articulated dinosaurs here? The question is, why do we have so many articulated dinosaurs in this location?
Paleontologist Dave Eberth believes the answer to this question and how Leonardo may have died is recorded in the layers of mud and sandstone of the Badlands.
You can see all of this bone poking out from the rock. This is a monotaxic bone bed. It is made up of the remains of hundreds of individuals.
Scattered across Alberta's Dinosaur Provincial Park are more than 20 mass graves filled with a diverse variety of dinosaur skeletons.
A bone bed like this will typically generate anywhere from 30 to 40 different kinds of animals, the remains of those animals. These bone beds are telling us that a number of animals are dying together and that these killing events are wiping out large numbers of animals across that coastal plain.
What could be responsible for such a high concentration of dinosaur remains in eastern Alberta and Montana? If the killer was a single catastrophic event, it wasn't a theory that Charles Sternberg had considered. In 1910, the world was stunned to learn that the boys from Kansas had found a second dinosaur mummy. Like many large herding animals of today, the pioneer paleontologist believed his duckbill met its demise while crossing a river.
The great creature had died in the water. The gases forming in the body floated the carcass. When they escaped, the skin collapsed, and the corpse sank head first and feet upward as it came to rest on the river bottom.
Like Sternberg's theory that his duckbill drowned, Nate Murphy wants to know for sure what killed Leonardo.
There's a pressure safety on it, and it's
But
not
that
tripping.
also enables this.
Usually this happens at 2 in the morning. You just got to be patient. That first shot, you got to be patient.
With time and technology working against him, Nate Murphy is starting to feel unlucky.
I understand the concept of Murphy's Law inside and out.
This equipment is brand new. It's only been used once.
We have water flow. We have water flow.
Yep.
All right.
We are ready. Let's get a sign on the door, please. We have success.
We're going to make some x-rays. We'll set it up, shoot it. There is something in there.
Oh, yeah, baby!
Science is spying on Mother Nature to come.
X-ray cooling system fixed. Nate Murphy's agonizing wait is about to end.
Oh, okay. You can actually see the contact line of the keratin beak where it started and skin started.
This is quite remarkable.
We've got this big plate. We should see pretty much a profile view of the side of Leonardo's face.
That's a nice shot.
It is. That's just a beautiful profile. That's the Nefertiti of duck-billed dinosaurs.
Look at that beak. The keratin beak, it climbs up the bridge of the nose much further than we imagined. So our life-size restoration there is inaccurate already. So it gives him almost like a big parrot beak.
How about up there? What's up in the corner?
Can't you see him? Big scales. See? Look at boom, 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 boom.
Look like little olives.
But that region, the cheek region, is a place where often birds and lizards too have big scales. It's a signal area right here, right here.
If you look at every drawing of a duck-billed dinosaur, I'll bet you, Bob, you don't see them with big scales.
Yeah, this is a moment where you're kicking yourself in the butt, because we've known for a long time that this region around the eye is a display region.
Seen here for the first time in a dinosaur, a bird-like display area composed of large scales in the cheeks may have distinguished males from females, or functioned as a colorful billboard for attracting a mate. While Nate Murphy celebrates the discoveries around the head area, in typical fashion, Bacher heads south.
I always wanted to be a paleoproctologist. This is the very tail end, no pun intended, of the digestive process, so it's about to excrete what it can't digest, so there should be fecal pellets here.
What is that collection of splotchy stuff? Look at those spots. There's something here.
They're blebs!
Bacher is convinced the blebs are small fragments of undigested food that have left a trail, mapping the path of Leo's GI tract.
We started getting the magic half-inch blebs here in the region of the colon, and we picked them up here in the intestines, and we picked them up in the upper part of the rib cage where there would be intestines too, but nowhere else. So it might help us map the passage of particles from throat all the way down.
Okay, let's clear the building.
Okay, grab food and run. We're gonna make a shot.
To help image the anatomy hidden deep inside the corpse,
Everybody out!
the imaging team brings in a more powerful gamma radiation source. Before he can make his run for it, Pat Durkin must crank the lethal gamma source into the camera by hand.
It's a lot hotter at this end of the building than over there where everybody's standing.
All right, we're clear. You can come back in.
This is the part where it was ingesting grass, right?
It's like this was a sack or something. We have that same thing in the neck, and I know they're wondering if there's a crop, like a bird crop in there. Here's your pouch.
If the science team can establish the bulge in Leo's neck as a crop for pre-digesting food, it will be further evidence linking dinosaurs to birds.
The chemistry inside there is different from the stomach and the colon.
That's what I want to see.
The lack of blebs in the throat is Bacher's proof that duckbills like Leonardo had a bird-like crop. It's another first that provides vital insight into dinosaur biology.
From now on, when you draw a duckbill, when you sculpt a duckbill, You give it a nice, big, goose-like crop.
While the crop has provided important insights into the first stages of digestion, for Bacher, guts are where the glory is.
Guts are incredibly diverse. Each family of species has their own way of processing plants. So this is the most important region of the innards of Leonardo.
Oh! Yeah, baby!
We may have loops, ascending loops of the intestines here already.
Okay.
Yes. Here they are, here they are. Oh, don't look like guts. Those are not sedimentary features.
Wow, wow.
This almost certainly is the small intestines coming from the stomach, which is here. You couldn't hope for this.
Yeah, you couldn't hope for anything more than this. Oh, it's the first time anybody's ever seen dinosaur intestines.
We got three-dimensional soft tissue structures inside the visceral cavity of almost a full-grown dinosaur. That's a good shot. Well, what we're trying to do here is actually shoot through the breastplate of the animal, and hopefully that's where everything, the money shot will be.
Since first unearthing the mummy, Nate Murphy has dreamed of finding Leo's organs, such as a liver or heart.
Okay, you can turn them on.
It's a very, very thick piece of the fossil, so we're just barely starting to pick up some structure in here.
We know there's things in there. We're seeing them. Now we're going to try and get them real clear.
Despite repeated attempts, the team is unable to capture a clear image in Leo's thick chest cavity.
You've got this cloud here. There's a cloud going across.
While unable to penetrate the thickest part of Leo's chest, the team has captured the first images ever taken of a dinosaur's digestive system, from its bird-like crop through the animal's intestinal tract.
This thing continues to surprise us from the standpoint of recreating what a dinosaur looks like.
We've gotten a glimpse of an unknown continent of knowledge, the internal continent, the internal unexplored region.
In the hope of imaging the thickest part of Leonardo's corpse, NASA has agreed to give the team a few precious days inside their radiation lab at the Johnson Space Center. To protect Leo on his trip to Houston, several hundred pounds of plaster and steel are added to the fragile fossil. But as the dinosaur mummy is readied for the journey, a dark secret threatens to destroy the entire project.
You want to keep warm when you're feeling chilled.
In 1916, Charles Sternberg and his sons were digging in the Badlands of Alberta when they hit pay dirt, uncovering a third dinosaur mummy. Described as the most spectacular specimen ever found, it was Charles Sternberg's crowning achievement. The sale of the rare fossil to Britain's Museum of Natural History assured his financial future. As the cargo vessel carrying the mummy approached the English coastline, she was boarded by a German warship, her crew evacuated, and the ship with the priceless mummy sent to the bottom. For Charles Sternberg, the emotional impact far outweighed the financial loss.
10 minutes of vandalism destroys all my labor. I can never recover from a blow such as this. In the twinkling of an eye, the blue Atlantic claimed my finest dinosaur.
In a shocking coincidence, a century after the Sternbergs lost their mummy, the Murphys lose Leonardo forever. In an incident unrelated to Leonardo, Nate and his son Matt leave the project amid allegations of theft, after federal authorities seize a new species of raptor valued at more than $200,000.
For us here in Montana, we grow up in the cowboy tradition. A handshake is as good as a contract, and it's especially difficult for the community here who spent years developing a museum and supporting Nate in his efforts.
Quietly, the Murphy boys leave the Leonardo project and Malta for good. With the town rallying behind them, the science team presses on, recruiting an elite group of experts to oversee the building of Leo's shipping casket. For the gang who invented bubble wrap, Leo is their first Cretaceous customer.
This is a very rigid system. It's rock. So therefore, a lot of the concerns we have are with high frequency.
To reduce vibration and give Leo a smooth ride to Houston, a two-part liquid foam is shot into plastic bags placed under the specimen. For 3 days and nights, the duckbill's pine box slowly takes shape around the fossil. 7 years after he was excavated, it's Leo's last day in town. After a week of prep, the dinosaur mummy is crated up and ready to head to NASA.
It's off the ground.
I think the first part of this journey is going to be the toughest.
For the trip, Leo has been insured for $2.5 million. There's just one hitch.
These moments between the museum and the truck are not covered by insurance.
Step back, Gary, so I can see you.
Boy, talk about a tight fit.
We're now insured.
For security reasons, the trail to Texas is kept a closely guarded secret, known only to paleontologist Dave Trexler, who will ride shotgun on the trip. Four days after watching Malta disappear in the rearview mirror, Leonardo arrives at NASA's Johnson Space Center.
I can't believe he's here. I just can't believe when they open that up, he's going to be in Texas. I can't believe he's here.
Leonardo's landed.
Congratulations.
Ah.
With the team nearly out of money and goodwill, they waste little time prepping Leo for the final round of his radiographic autopsy.
The pressure is on. We have only a couple of days, and we have what would comfortably be a month's worth of imaging and scanning.
The black box containing a lethal cobalt radiation source is wheeled into Hangar 150. It's so dangerous that even though the walls are lined with lead, they have to wait until the last NASA employee leaves the Space Center at midnight.
All right, we want overlapping.
All right, let's clear the area.
Making her hot.
Cobalt time. Here you go, sir.
Holy cow. The rib orientation.
There's a little bit of a texture here, too.
As the team searches for the prized internal organs, the powerful cobalt source reveals something inside Leo is missing.
The rib's gone.
This one right here.
So we have a bite mark. We have a heck of a bite mark.
So he was alive when that wound was inflicted?
Well, I always thought it was a wound. Now I'm sure. It's a heck of a wound in the gut.
I think it is.
Let's see, what do carnivores go for first? Liver, heart?
We may have the cause of death.
Ribs and a big chunk of muscle were ripped up. Now that wound had to have been inflicted on the carcass before final burial.
With this image, all of a sudden our perceptions have changed. It now looks like Leonardo was really badly wounded before he died.
X-rays reveal Leo was bitten in his right side, removing skin, muscle, and several ribs. Dave Eberth now believes he's found Leo's killer and the catastrophic event that preserved countless articulated dinosaurs in the same sediments.
So what we think was going on here is that this entire area was flooded out 75 million years ago during a hurricane or an intense tropical storm.
Leo's last day appears to have been at the crossroads of two deadly events: a predatory attack and a prehistoric storm. Although badly injured, he's able to escape the river, now in full flood. Downstream at the beach, winds exceeding 150 miles per hour produce a storm surge, an unnaturally high tide towering more than 4 stories.
Those waves act essentially as a dam, just damming up the rainwater that's falling and preventing that landscape from draining. Now all you have to do is picture a landscape 300 kilometers wide that's full of duck-billed dinosaurs, meat-eating dinosaurs. It's the large dinosaurs that would be in distress, thrashing about, bellowing.
Severely crippled, and with the floodwaters rising, Leo's fate is sealed.
He's too weak to stand up in the stream flow, but he has just enough strength to be trying to raise his head, get his nostrils up above the waterline. And that's why I think his head is actually preserved in that position.
The team now believes the circumstances that led to Leonardo's death and preservation were both violent and sudden.
Regardless of how Leonardo died, or how he ended up in the water, the fact remains that that carcass had to have been buried very, very rapidly.
As the storm lost its energy, the floodwaters receded, revealing a carnage-ridden landscape.
This would have been a catastrophic area. Picture a landscape littered with thousands of cow-sized animals that are rotting in the sun.
Unlike most of the dinosaurs claimed by the storm, all but the end of Leo's tail is protected inside his sandstone crypt.
We think we have the smoking gun, the cause, to help us explain why a superb specimen like Leonardo got preserved in the first place.
Nearly 800,000 centuries after Leo's death,
It's fairly late, and we hope this will turn out.
the Dino CSI team is out of time.
This is fascinating.
Yep.
I am almost positive we're seeing organ there.
Well, we haven't seen anything like that before.
What organ in the body could possibly have that shape? Now this, from the other angle, might be in the position to be liver.
Or the dried up vascular pattern inside the liver.
The thing's about the right size for an animal that big. And it's in the right location.
After a 2-hour exposure of Leo's thick chest cavity, the team has extracted something never seen before, the digital image of a dinosaur's liver. But nearby, the X-ray hints there's something more.
There's something here, for sure.
It's better resolution than we've ever seen in that. So that spot right there should be the heart. That's in the right location.
That is a deep structure of about fist size.
It's about the right size. Has a very good chance of being the heart.
You like to get your hands dirty trying to figure out.
After exploring the depths of Leonardo's corpse, the radiographic autopsy has captured more than 130 digital X-rays of the dinosaur mummy.
There's signals coming from the living animal, signals from the chemistry on the inside, signals coming from the animals that died.
Images from an ancient world suggest Leonardo suffered a lethal wound before his death. It's part of a body of evidence that's also produced a life-size X-ray of the hadrosaur.
This is just full of clues. We're awash in a sea of clues, and that's pretty incredible.
Look at what we have here. We have a stomach content mass right there. We have something going on there that is totally different.
We need to do some biopsies, really do, especially in there.
The body is so pristine, it's an envelope of skin.
We have been able to look inside the animal, identify a structure, pull it out, recreate it in 3 dimensions, and examine it without ever damaging the original specimen. We have been able to perform a non-invasive autopsy on a 77-million-year-old dinosaur.
From images of Leo's GI tract to evidence of his last meal, the dinosaur's post-mortem has revealed the duckbill's complex path of digestion, including a bird-like crop.
We can say that this animal was a high-fiber chewer and processor of the toughest plants in its ecosystem. That's the beginning of the answer, the explanation of why duckbills were so successful for so long.
Most tantalizing of all is a digital image captured deep inside Leo's corpse, what appears to be the heart of a dinosaur.
What's really exciting is that we think we have a heart. It's only a 2-dimensional image because we're using regular radiographs. And what we're looking for in the future is to have a system that will give us a 3-dimensional image.
High-tech imaging of Leo's internal organs and exquisite skin patterns has brought us closer to a living dinosaur than we've ever been before, creating the world's first anatomically accurate dinosaur. After unearthing the first dinosaur mummy in 1908, Charles Sternberg spent the rest of his life struggling to unlock its secrets. On the 100th anniversary of his landmark discovery, Leo's high-tech autopsy has completed Sternberg's quest. It's also done something he could never have imagined. It's changed paleontology forever.
We're going into the field with a full-blown laboratory to sit right on the ground and analyze these things before they come out. So we're doing science completely different than we did 5 years ago.
No one will look at a dinosaur with skin and say, that's nice skin, I'll take photographs, get rid of it so I can clean the bones. That won't happen ever again.
Leo's anatomy has provided evidence about his life and the environment he lived in. But the mummy's post-mortem is one forensic investigation that may never be closed.
We have seen things that we have never seen before. We have performed tests that we've never been able to perform before. And we've answered a lot of questions. But the story of Leonardo is far from over.
By the time the last of the dinosaurs had died off, Leo had already been entombed for 12 million years. The body of the mummified duckbill has provided a window into his ancient anatomy. And given testimony into the lives of the most successful creatures ever to roam the planet.